Oh, we're making it. That was perfect.
Do I need?
Okay,
right now, I
Don't
only have,
block it, don't block
I only have that.
We just talked about. Please don't touch me. Yeah.
You can't go anywhere. All right, are we working, Christy?
Yeah.
All right, you guys, we are finally back to normal. Yay, Christina and everybody else, right? All right, with that, I'm going to call this meeting to order. Would you please stand and join me in the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Awesome. Okay, so then we will go on to 2.0 agenda approval.
I'll second.
It's been moved and second to accept the agenda as stated. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. And now we are on to the Community Impact Awards. And the first one I'm going to call up is a really cute little gal named Abby Jerome. Great big plaque. Can you hold on tight? Sounds good. You want to smile pretty first? Act like you like me. I already introduced myself, sir. I'm doing it. All right, I'm going to read all about how great you are. Okay, you are welcome. So Abby Duran is a model student. She's inspiring her peers through her work ethics and commitment to excellence. As a strong advocate for hard work, she not only excels academically, but also encourages her fellow students to strive for their best, fostering a culture of achievement within the classroom. Consistently demonstrating care and empathy towards her peers, Abby serves as a teacher assistant and extends a helping hand to those who may be struggling, ensuring that no student is left behind. Abby leads by example with compassion and understanding, embracing her individuality fully, and she encourages others to do the same, fostering an environment where every student feels valued and accepted. Her determination and caring nature have earned her the role of a trusted mentor and friend to all. Her readiness to offer support and encouragement to her peers is a testament to her character and the positive influence she has on our school community. Abby always works hard to include everyone around her, which makes our school feel like a close-knit community. She makes every effort to do well in school and to be kind to everyone in Columbia City Elementary, making her a true role model for those around her. Please join us in congratulating Abby Duran as the Student Community Impact Award recipient for April. All right. So next, I'm going to call up our wonderful staff member, Kristen. That's to Ben. Can you come on up here, Kristen? I know she's going to use the picture. All right, now I get to say great things about you too, okay? All right, so Kristen has consistently demonstrated exceptional skills and dedication to her students. Her passion for teaching literacy is truly commendable. She possesses a remarkable ability to engage her students and foster a deep love for reading. Her innovative teaching methods ensure that each student receives personalized attention and support tailored to their unique learning needs. Kristen goes above and beyond to create a nurturing and inclusive classroom environment where every student feels valued and empowered to succeed. One of Kristen's most admirable qualities is her kindness and compassion towards her students. She approaches each interaction with warmth and empathy, building strong rapport and trust with them. Her genuine care for their well-being extends beyond academics, and as she consistently provides guidance and to support them, navigating challenges both inside and outside of the classroom. In addition to her exemplary work with students, Kristen is also a collaborative team player who actively contributes to success of the entire staff. She's always willing to share ideas, resources, and best practices, and her positive attitude and willingness to lend a helping hand greatly enhance the team dynamics. Kristen's ability to collaborate effectively ensures that the Lewis and Clark school community operates cohesively with the students' best interests at the forefront of all their endeavors. Kristen is an outstanding educator who possesses a rare combination of teaching expertise, kindness, and collaborative spirit. She continues to make a profound impact on the lives of her students and colleagues within the St. Helens community. Please join us in congratulating Kristen Pastaban as the Staff Community Impact Award recipient for April. All right, last but not least, I'd like to call out my Community Impact Award for this Officer Jeremy. Oh, pretty good. Are you ready for what I might say about you? Okay, for over 20 years, Officer Hal has been an integral part of the St. Helens community, with 7 of those years dedicated to serving as our school resource officer for the school district. During his tenure, Officer Howell has left an indelible mark on the community, engaging with students and staff in a multitude of impactful ways. At the heart of Officer Howell's service lies his profound dedication to the well-being and safety of the community's youth. As a welcome guest figure at various school events, Officer Howell's ability to connect with students on a personal level has been commendable. He consistently demonstrates patience, understanding, and an unwavering commitment to nurturing positive interactions with students. His patient demeanor and genuine interest in addressing students' questions and concerns have earned him admiration and respect throughout the community. Officer Howell's influence extends beyond the school walls as he continues to shape incoming officers at the St. Helens Police Department. Just a couple, okay. His leadership as a senior training officer underscores his commitment to fostering a new generation of law enforcement professionals dedicated to serving with integrity and empathy. Throughout his career, Officer Howell has emphasized the importance of building and maintaining relationships, both within the school community and beyond. His ability to listen attentively and act with integrity and compassion has earned him the trust and respect of all students, staff, and families alike. In times of crisis or uncertainty, Officer Howell's calm presence and empathetic listening provide a sense of reassurance and support. He serves as a bridge between the community and law enforcement, fostering trust and understanding among all the parties. Officer Howell's tireless dedication to the St. Helens community exemplifies the values of service, compassion, and integrity, and his impact on the lives of countless individuals, particularly our youth, is a testament to his enduring commitment to making a positive difference in the community. Please join us in congratulating Officer Jeremy Howell as the Community Impact Award recipient for April. I didn't babysit Jeremy, just some of the other guys.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't remember which word I said wrong, but we'll find it later.
Ha,
Spit that baby out. I said going to go wrong. It's another guy.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. You guys want to scoot up now? Our room. You guys want to come and sit in a chair here? Okay, you can hide over there. All right, so we are going to go on to 4.0 to the visitors to address the board. And there's two parts on the agenda, but this is the one where time for public comment on non-agenda items. Got it to the right? And the board will not take any immediate action on these, but will refer any concerns to the superintendent and ask him to report to the board. We appreciate you keeping your comments to 3 minutes. I'm not sure if that's always possible per individual, or 5 minutes if you're representing a group of patrons. All right, so the first thing we have up is that Mr. Joe Mock. Come on up.
So with any prepared speech, I brought my attention getter over here. So
Okay.
I want to make sure that, you know, this is not a complaint. This is just for educational purposes. This is the amount of material or money that I'm allowed to purchase for my students each year. So this is all the money for each student that I can get. So that the district allots me. So the good news about that, because I don't want to complain, but the good news about that is we've been really blessed on grants. But what we haven't been blessed on is maintenance budget. And so my request is that in the future years, we can put a maintenance line item potentially in the budget. One of the requirements with getting Perkins tools that we get each year from the state is that the district is supposed to maintain those. And we don't really have a budget for that. And so what I'd like to do, hopefully in the future, is create a budget for that. The other things, positive note that I wanted to cover, we just got done with Skills USA last weekend, and in carpentry, we took first and second in state. So that's pretty cool. The other thing is, about a year ago, we received a grant from revitalization grant to do safety videos. I don't know, there was a thing in the, you guys saw it, I'm sure at one time, but we created that. It went live in October of last year. And of this month, we've hit 50,000 student quizzes now across Oregon, Idaho, and California with no publicity yet. And so that's pretty cool. So we're still in the troubleshooting stages, but 50,000 views with just shop teachers is pretty cool. Another thing is we have 287 students signed up first pick for Woods division. That's including heavy equipment next year. And so I think that's pretty cool. It's been a long time since we've hit those kind of numbers before, so that's pretty cool. We have over 90 kids requested Woods 2 as their second, as a second level year class, so that's pretty cool. And then the last thing is we started a heavy equipment program last year, and we've had lots of interest in that from around the state. And so the apprenticeship, which is the Oregon College of Construction, actually is wanting to send their students to us to get trained instead of them doing it, and they have an actual apprenticeship. So I think that's kind of cool. So there is another grant available that I'm thinking about tying on to actually, so we can get grounds all set up for that, but that's still there. Anyway, that's it.
Hey, what's the URL for your?
This is, sorry, I had to apply for it. It's teachsafely.com.
So teachsafely.com, and you log in as an employee, and then you can watch any video you want.
Thanks, Joe.
Yep.
Okay, well, next we have Mr. Ryan Drake. And if you'd like to come on up and let's talk about the school schedule.
So we visited this last year, and this next year coming up, the schedule is not conducive to a working family. You can't have the older kids getting out later than the younger kids. There leaves so many different problems from in the morning or in the afternoon to their safety and other things that are along with it. We waited 15 years. Next year our kid drives. Stop off and pick up. We're taking that away from us, along with a lot of other families that we've talked to. We came in last year and said the schedule is not good. I mean, we have softball practices in Beaverton for she plays tournament ball. I mean, at 3:20, we take her, pick her up. We can't even feed her. She's got to be at her practices. These schedules are horrible on the families that are trying to make everything work with two people. And we went last year in boys, and this year it's even worse coming out. And it's like, you know, what are we doing? You can't leave little kids home that are 8 years old, 9 years old for an hour, hour and a half until the older kid gets home. I mean, that's not safe. There's all sorts of things. I mean, I know my 9-year-old, there's all sorts of things that could go wrong. So to see that schedule this year was very disheartening, and things need to change, because I know there's lots of people out there that when you post the new schedule, you turn their commenting off, and you say, well, certain people like it. What, 4? Everybody I talk to doesn't like it, is not happy with it. But you can't have the older kids getting out later than the younger kids. That makes no sense whatsoever. I can go on for an hour, but I got 3 minutes, but that's my biggest complaint. There's all sorts of things that we need to address and to listen to the public here. This isn't, we all support everything. We all try to work, together to make things work. This schedule is not the one. It's horrible for us. So trying to make a kid that becomes, successful by playing tournament ball, maybe it's a college scholarship, and then having a younger kid, there's too many problems with this later schedule. And, people have said something, they say, oh, no, we've heard people work for them. Who? Ones that don't work? I mean, so you have basically made us have to require another bill in today's already, hard economy of daycare. We're trying to figure out how to get them dropped off and picked up. And you've taken that carpet and ripped it out from underneath of us.
So Ryan, I remember when you were here last time, but I wanted to ask you personally, is what would work for you? Exactly, like even a time schedule.
10, 15-minute difference, just let to be able to, maybe the kids ride home together, or the littles get out earlier than the big ones. I mean, that's the way it always was when I was a kid. You always had the older kids watching the younger kids. I mean, and not only that, but you have a thing in the morning where kids are do stuff they're not supposed to do. So you have 8:20 start time. Well, that just gives a lot of time in the morning for kids to do stuff they're not supposed to do. Extra time. And then you have kids getting out home an hour and so many minutes later, young ones. Well, what if you have a kidnapper? What if you have a this? Or what if you have that? You've opened up so many doors to things that were closed before. You've opened them up to having a problem.
I know, I've worked on it, we've all worked on it, and I've had different years with all the daycare kids that I do and all the foster kids on our own, that schedules changed. And so I totally can understand, it's like you just get used to one and then another one works. But I also know too, like, as your older child is older now, so what works for that child might be different than the little guys down here. One of the things that we do have trouble in this town that doesn't have, and Scappoose pretty similar, not all towns have it. We have very few daycares that do the early morning. So we have kids that are being dropped off at our elementary at like 7:15 in the morning as parents go, because they've got to be at work at 8 o'clock.
What do they do in the afternoon?
In the afternoon, a lot of them either line up the daycare, or they also, now we have the after school program that we've put together. We're trying to get kids in there as fast as we can. But one of the things that both the after school program, Snoopy Land, Monkey Tree actually even quit doing school kids period, is because when we did the later time for them coming home later, then the problem was they couldn't get staff who were willing to come into work for maybe 2.5 hours. If they get out early at 2:15, get there between 2:30 and 2, they at least have a 3.5 to 4 hour shift to be bringing in the extra staff for the after school. So I just wanted you to know, it's not because nobody's not listening. And there's a lot of different people, but for almost every single family, there's a different need. And that's what's made it so difficult.
I don't even care if it's early or both. It just, you can't, at the different times, I think those are big jumps.
Mhm.
The buses are right, different buses. It's good when you have when your 15-year-old is a good one and the 9-year-old is a questionable one. She can make sure that, the 9-year-old's not throwing stuff out the window, or the other 9-year-olds aren't throwing stuff out the window. You kind of raise the first one and you're like, hey, we're here.
Yeah.
And then you guys change the schedule. It's like, we're carpooling now, and we don't have time to do that. Most people require I don't care the time. The times don't bother me. It's the difference. I don't care if it's 6 o'clock in the morning until 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I don't care that. It's the older kids getting out later than the younger kids has put a strain on a lot of families that both people work. And so doing that, you basically, we're dedicated to daycare when we weren't before. My wife didn't start working with me until the kid was out and the older one was old enough to watch him. She stayed home with him. So
We could address the comment on social media, though. The comments have been off for a very, very long time, not just for this subject. That person it's only one person running social media, and there is no comments on any social media.
And the problem is, even us was a struggle to get here tonight, and we're self-employed.
Yeah.
And it's still a struggle. So I think there's more people out there that feel, I know there's more people out there that feel the same way that I do, that aren't quite as like, oh, I can get off, I can leave 10, 15, 20 minutes early a day. I mean, kids are still at home waiting for dinner. I mean, we got, just to get here. Then there's more people that are very upset about it, and it's really throwing a monkey wrench. My daughter missed more days of school this year because of that schedule than any ever before. So that's all I gotta say. I mean, it's something I'm not gonna, it's horrible, period. So I think make it, I don't care, 7:45, 8:05, or 7:55 or 8. I mean, just as long as the kids get out, the older ones get out late or earlier than the younger ones. So we can utilize our family as our daycare.
So can I ask you, what do you do in the morning if your older ones left earlier so they could be home? What do you do with your younger
We live
ones?
in rural, we live in Deer Island, so we drive to work.
Mhm.
But on the way to work, we drop them off. I mean, so that really doesn't matter, because to the bus system, they wanted to pick my kid up at 6:04 in the morning. I think they've changed that, I'm not sure. They wanted to pick my kid up at 6:04 in the morning, for just a little ways up Canaan, and bus him for almost 2 full hours to Columbia City School. And that was just, I mean, we had to change everything. I mean, that was unacceptable. I think they did change that. I'm not 100% sure. We just, we had to do what we do. So now, but now it's still zigzagging. The 2 hours for an 8-year, he was 8. He's gonna have a stack of bus tickets this big.
No problem.
Put me on a bus for 2 hours, you'll give me one. So thanks for your time, but I'm just telling you that it's been rough on our family, and I know we're not the only ones. And it's been trying to juggle that.
No problem. Thanks, Ryan. All righty. So let's go on to 5.0, which is the consent agenda. Anybody have any questions or changes or anything? Need one of you. No, but you gotta say, I.
I'll move to
There we go.
approve the consent agenda. I thought I was waiting for you.
No,
to
I'm
like-
just waiting for you guys.
I'll second it.
Thank you. All right, it's been moved and seconded to accept the consent agenda as stated. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thanks. Motion carries. So now we're gonna go on to 6.0 new business, which very first is 6.1. We're gonna turn it back over to Kristen Fosterman, and it's the Walk to Learn program. Are you ready, Kristen?
Yeah.
Come on up, guys.
So Teaching and Learning did grade level curriculum days in February, and we, instead of coming and presenting to you what we did during those days, we thought we would elevate a team that took the things that we were talking about and they
Come on.
used that time to collaborate. And we want to elevate the second grade team at Lewis and Clark and Kristen Fassbender, and she'll talk to you about how they have taken these strategies.
Thank you.
Marcy and Lori, come up, we're elevating these teachers tonight. Thank you for doing the hard work every day. Okay.
You don't get a hide over there.
Lori. We're just gonna work on little kids every day, not big kids. This is a test. Oh. All right, please stand. I don't know if the board can see. Oh, what did that do? Okay, thank you.
Tricky.
Hello, I'm Kristen Costigan. I'm a Title I reading teacher at Lewis and Clark Elementary School. We have our second grade team, Marcy Schaefer, Lori Johnson. We also have Ty Dustin, who's part of this team. We also have Vicki France, part of the team. In here tonight, we also have Bev Brinson. She's one of our title instructional assistants. Part of the team that we are specifically talking about tonight includes the 4 second grade teachers. Myself as the Title I teacher, my 4 title instructional assistant, and 1 classroom assistant, because their time coincides in Mrs. Francis' room in the time that we're looking at what we're going to be calling an RTI push or a walk to read program. And essentially what that is will be what we cover today. This disclaimer, any one of these slides I could probably talk anywhere between 30 and 45 minutes on. I will not do that tonight. I'm capped at 7 to 10. I just wanted to include, so everybody that's at the table, you have paper copies of everything that I have. Feel free to email or call after the fact if you ever sit and are thinking about something and want to discuss it further. It also goes to administration. Okay, so the reason I have this here is because this cohort is very exceptional in a lot of ways. This is all of our cohorts are in some way impacted by the 2020 pandemic. This cohort was shut down during their preschool formative years, where they should have been starting to socialize either in play-based classrooms, play-based home schools, or some type of enriched early education program. They got put on Chromebooks. We did the very best that we could with this group of children, given the circumstances. That's what this slide is. They then came to school in person masked as kindergartners, that's 5 to 6 year olds, having no robust systems of early childhood that we would have perhaps liked to have seen. In addition to that, we had significant staffing challenges as well. Our class sizes were anywhere between 21 to 26 5-year-olds in a classroom with masks. 2 of the classrooms had no instructional assistant because we just couldn't fill the space we had that budgeted for. We just were not able to have that. So we're looking at some pretty significant things in their development as they're coming into public school. So that's that. This is, again, a very heavy slide. All I want to bring you to your attention of knowing specifically deep into this is these are what we call our screeners, and screeners are 3 points, assessments that we take to look at making sure our students either are or are not progressing with the foundational roadblocks, foundational skills, and reading specifically. We also have screeners for math as well. What I want to talk to you about is, if you notice the red bars, those are our percentage of children at or below the 10th percentile nationally. And if you notice, we do not make significant movement in the cohort. So this 2nd grade cohort, this is them as kindergartners. We end with about 35 to 36% at or below the 10th percentile. Is 1st graders, the assessments are different, but they're still working on their foundational literacy skills. So even though you're not comparing apples to apples, you're comparing their ability to develop through the literacy process to be able to become literate citizens. They still end at the spring of their 1st grade year, 35% at or below the 10th percentile nationally compared to their peers. The really nice thing is, as we continue to pour our resources and collaborate for all of our children and these children in particular, is now at their winter benchmark. We're now sitting where we've sat in the spring before. However, we also sat lower in the winter when you compare them again. Just, again, I could go on and on. I'm not going to. My point is, having looked at that winter benchmark, we really have a long way to go in regards to providing these children a solid foundation in their literacy and reading. That brought us to, what do we do with the resources provided us in order to meet those needs? Okay, some considerations. This group of children are very transition resistant. So going right into an RTI or a walk to read model did not deemed feasible in the fall. They needed to be housed down, taught social emotional, taught regulation. And now we have primed into a space where we were able to move into something called a walk to read, which is where the curriculum day came for, that we were ready after making some progress with them in their homeroom classes. We also have new staff at the grade level, which is also a consideration. You don't want to be shaking a bunch of stuff up if your practitioners are not stout. So making sure that team process is really solid so that when you have your child in front of you, you are making the most of that time. Okay. This slide talks about the different types of models of how to provide intervention. When I talk about intervention, I'm talking about we teach, and now it's time to really dive in and be able to help so-and-so with their letter sounds. But then this one's working on sight words, and then you're working on phonemic awareness, and you're working on this, that, or the other thing. In a traditional model, oftentimes, not always, it depends on the site, what is looked at as my role as Title I. I put my groups together, I pull them out of the classroom, teachers are doing reading groups, we're all making the most of our time. That can work and has been a practice that we use quite often. However, if we're sitting on these numbers and reflecting upon the data, we need to be asking some questions as well. If we're not seeing the forward progress, both in each individual child and or the cohort together, we need to be figuring out how are we using our resources and what are we doing in order to make forward progress. That's why this is here. And so with a walk to read with Paul, that means that the classroom teachers, they're now doing some movement during their reading block, and title also comes down, takes kids out while teachers are teaching and doing groups. We went a step further. Second grade has been a dynamite powerhouse at doing this model, meaning that they're doing the walk to read model while title comes behind, pulls out. They make sure that their children that are being pulled at that time are not missing instruction with teacher. They would be doing an application, they'd be doing a worksheet, something that they're not missing a highly trained instructional one-to-one person with. Okay, so they've sat really nicely here. We asked, well, what if we do that model, but instead of our staff coming and taking them out, what if we come in and create more like a centers or a work or a station-based model? And so now our staff comes down and we actually run stations in the classroom. So what that does is that opens up 40 minutes. And well, so that's the model that we're going to talk about, and that's the model that I'm going to show you next. The next slide, again, we could go really long, really deep into each one of these. I have listed each of those three models. At first I did positive and negative, and it's like, well, it's not really negative, it's just considerations and limitations. So what we have here is the one I want to highlight is that, because you might go, well, why don't you just do that all the time? Well, here's why. With the staffing and the resources that we do have, if I am to manipulate group size, these are the numbers of the children in each of those classrooms. You need adults to be with them. So if Miss Johnson, for example, is the intensive classroom, she has 15 children, but maybe all 15 of those children are just lurking on their letter sounds. 15-1 is a pretty substantial ratio for students working on foundational skills. So traditionally, if we do the walk to read without a push, she can do that and then we're coming and taking kids out of her room. Instead, with the walk to read model is we're pushing in, but say Miss Greta is not there, which often happens. So we've had teaching and learning has been extremely supportive of this, and they're actually coming and subbing. Because when someone's not at Miss Greta's station, there's no adult to those 5 children needing their instruction. Because every adult that's down there has a lesson plan and a scope and sequence tailored to the lagging skills of the child in front of them and in the classrooms. So the reason why that this is a limitation, even though this is an exceptionally powerful model, is that if I'm not there, I don't have a sub, you now have potentially that many children without an instructor. So that's also why the Title I traditional pullout works fairly well. It still delivers instruction to students that need it. And when the sub or when the instructor isn't there, then the groups just don't happen and they get to fill in with the typical schedule. Because I don't, like I said, I could go on and on. That's why. We'll move on. And if you want to talk more about it, you have my contact information. So as Ms. Tyler introduced, We were then all sitting at our curriculum day going, okay, so let's mess with the wonders. Let's see what's in there. What are we doing? And then all of a sudden, we're like, well, so we throw out walk to read, and some of us go, yeah, and then some of us go, ooh. And then we're like, well, we already have Wednesdays where we use it as a day that we're not pulling. So they already had their Wednesday on my service schedule that we use for Title I staff meetings. And now I'm gonna go real fast. And so then we did this. Walk to read Wednesday lesson plans. This is our intensive room. This is a classroom. This is a classroom. This is a classroom. This is a classroom. This is what we call our enrichment room. These students are at or above grade level for second grade. These students are almost there. These students need some help. These are our babies that we really need to get moving. They're going to be kindergarten or third graders. Okay. What you see here, these are the lesson plans. These are the stations. These are the stations, and that's what the child is getting. Okay. The curriculum stations. And then this is more running as a 24-to-1. So she's actually doing a whole group, that's a whole group of students at or above second grade reading level. I had questions from staff that reviewed this. So they said, so kids can move back and forth when they increase. Well, yes, but if you're really looking at the child, what we should be manipulating, which is what I've not had children move horizontally yet. What I'm doing is I'm adjusting the level and the rigor of what they're getting with their instruction in the classroom. They've mastered the Haggerty Bridge the Gap series. They're now moving to doing their leveled reader of the core curriculum, as opposed to moving kids back and forth. So stay in the structure, but adjust this, what the child is getting in order to meet those lagging skills to get them to this level. But I'm not just plopping them in there. They then need to go through their scope and sequence of instruction for their literacy. All right, and so now.
This is just my, I'll be quick. This is, I'm Lori Johnson, sorry. This is my tiers, it's not mine, but thorough intervention insurance. Yes, sir, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine, it's best, but this is important work. Do not need to speed through it.
Okay. Well, we got
And
time.
people need to see, you know, when somebody says it's not rocket science, it is rocket science.
Yeah.
And they need to understand
Okay.
how complex and the amount of time that you put in to support our children. This is really good work. So please, don't shortchange yourself.
Okay. I just want to be respectful because I was given a time.
And we also, I want to be reflective because I have had kids in elementary for like 12 years until this year is the first time I've been out of elementary. You guys don't have volunteers like we used to have volunteers.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I've been a volunteer in some of your clubs.
Yeah.
So I just want to acknowledge that you guys are doing that hard work without a lot of help.
And we're utilizing the help that we do have. So thank you. Yes, yeah.
So,
Sorry.
yes,
No, don't be sorry, thank you.
TIERS is a program that I've used for over 15 years. The district purchased a set for me last year or 2 years ago with the summer program. So it's very intensive. It's hands-on. Oh my goodness, the kids absolutely love it. It's just child-centered. Yes, multi-sensory. They work through, and I can have 5 or 6 different kids working on different jobs, literacy jobs, and they're just in hog heaven with it. So, and it really does work with all kids at all levels. I have kindergartners come through for enrichment, and then I have other kids come through, older kids that need it. I've had 3rd graders come down. I've had 4th graders come down. So it's a wonderful program, and that goes on in my room along with Haggerty and Science of Reading with my other 2 title teachers right there. So you're doing good.
Yes, that I talked. And so here's some pictures. Is this, oh yeah, and this is Miss Johnson's classroom. So here you have a picture of what we were talking about with the lesson plans. Mrs. Johnson is working her TIERS program here for her direct instruction for children. And when we talk about a walk to read model, students in the other core classrooms wouldn't necessarily have access to Miss Johnson's intervention, because that's something that she houses in her classroom. And so by opening it up and looking at a PLC or a PLT model with the RTI, is it allows other children to come in and meet those lagging skills of where they need to be, whether they're not, they got the draw of, oh, I'm in Miss Johnson's room, oh, I'm in Mr. Schaefer's room, is we're working and looking at them as a cohort of children and meeting the children's needs, not just about where they're plopped with their homeroom teacher. Now, again, if Ms. Erickson were absent, just because of how we have staffing the way it is, title staff don't receive substitutes, just go back. Because of just how the structure is, we're a grant-based program. And so if she were absent, then we would not have somebody to run her direct instruction. She's running the Haggerty Bridge the Gap. Haggerty Bridge the Gap is an intervention program that goes on top of Haggerty Primary or Haggerty Secondary, which is a core phonemic awareness program. So they're getting the core with their classroom, tier 1. And then we're running the tier 2 in their classroom, also continuing to work on those skills. The enrichment classroom does not have access to the Haggerty Bridge the Gap because they're not showing their lagging skill in phonemic awareness. They've mastered that. They're ready to apply. And then Ms. Wells, she's working on a science of reading that's just a structured literacy packet. And what I mean by that is continuing to apply graphemes and phonics into then decoding and encoding essentially your phonics work. Here is this is the approaching level classroom. And so in here, these students are a little more independent. I float into this classroom a lot just because they only have 2 adults. They have Miss France and they have Mr. R. He's running the science of reading. These children are partner reading on their own independently. Some days it works really well. Some days they need Mrs. Fastman to sit down with them too. And then Mrs. Francis to the side, and she's running her leveled reader. This is all from the new adoption. This is our tier 1, our core work, using it in a tier 2 model because they're getting the level of book that they need for their text level. And then this is the enrichment room. So these students are working with Miss Dustin, and they're reading their leveled reader at or above grade level.
And that group, Miss Dustin's group, they started with the at level, and within weeks they were moved up to beyond.
Correct, which is a level higher.
Yes.
Miss Francis' room started with the approaching level, and they've now moved up into the on level as well. So while the students again are not changing classrooms, what they're receiving within the classroom increases in rigor as their skills deepen as well. And then
Hi, I'm Marcia Schaefer. Okay, and in my classroom, we're just a step above Lori Johnson's classroom, and we're doing leveled readers with me, and then Bridge the Gap with Mrs. Robbins, and Science of Reading with Ms. Brinson. And again, we thank Ms. Burke and Ms. Tyler for coming in and subbing because we wouldn't be able to do it without them. Because like she said, there are no subs. So I'm doing the approaching level. One thing that I have always believed that a reader is just not being able to read the words on the paper. A complete reader can comprehend, read, tell, and do all that sort of stuff. So we do a lot of that in, oops, did I touch? We do a lot of that in my group. We'll read a story, and then we'll reread the story, and then we'll take turns reading the story, and then I ask a lot of comprehension and retell, what happened next then, because that makes a whole reader. And so that's what's kind of happening in my classroom.
thank you. And this is Ms. Spring. Do you want to say anything? You can say it.
The tape tabs.
This is one of our title assistants. She was able to.
I did that for.
So we have a worksheet that we work on that breaks down phonics. We do arm spelling, and I have all the kids read their stuff themselves. We do partner read also, but they all read the paragraphs to me every single day. And we work on phonics, and there's also questions that we answer, and we make it fun. So reading's not boring. Like I make my group fun. They get stars down because they read the stuff because I want them to love reading and not have it be a chore. So that's how I run my group.
Thank you. So here's some more data that is probably, to me, this is a little more user friendly to someone maybe not submersed in the data. And so what you have here is at the very beginning with your bar graphs, those dumped all of the percentile ranks together. However, so here's some hard facts. PRF stands for passage reading fluency. That's putting a piece of paper in front of a child and having them read for 1 minute. And what that gives us information about is not how fast they're reading, but how are they able to look at language as a code and decode it. And so when I have a very low decoding score, I know that child has lagging skills within their process of reading. And then we go in deeper into what I do about that, but it's a screener. When they came in as second graders, the cohort of 75 students were reading 39 correct words per minute in the fall. That is, this is below the 25th percentile nationally. In the winter, which was the next benchmark, and that's in about 20 weeks. So they were functioning under core tier 1, and then they were functioning under pull out. So they were staying with their teachers. We were running our title program in a pull out model. We were providing intervention, and we provided that for about 20 weeks. And 79 students in the winter then scored a 70 or 49 of their mean passage reading fluency. So the mean of the group was a 49. We moved them above the 25th percentile at that point. So now the mean has gone above 25th percentile. They had about 10 correct words per minute increase in about 20 weeks. Then in April, so instead of saying fall, winter, then we took this April, what I call a PM. This is when the service model changed. After winter, we had the meeting that Ms. Tyler told you guys about, Learning Our Wonders, our new curriculum, looking at our resources and how we can best suit the needs of our diverse learners. And we decided to go ahead and start the walk to read model on Wednesdays. That's happening 1 day per week. And then the rest of the other 4 days per week, we're still doing intact classrooms with a poll with their instructors in my classroom also. So we started that winter, then we took an April PM, and that just means that we're also on top of what we call these benchmarks, 3 points in time. Everybody gets it. We also 1 time per month, so approximately every 4 weeks, we do it once a month, is what's called the progress monitor. It's just the same thing. It's just not dumped into the big tests that everybody does. From there, we actually had a mean increase of 32 correct words per minute, and that was in a matter of 12 weeks, with enacting that 5th day of the walk to read with additional supports within the classroom. At this point in time, the mean of 76 students is sitting at or above the 50th percentile, which is very promising. It's not the be all end all, but we're making forward progress. And I also have some specific student data that we'll look at as well. We'll continue working. I also want to just point out, this is a process we just do all the time. Meaning I put it in a pretty little slide or whatever to like share it out, but this is really the work of the RTI and the PLC process. And making sure that the new teachers that are coming along beside us in the collaboration, that we're making sure we're training this process through, that it's not just something we do to put on a worksheet or to put on for a presentation. It's literally the work we do to then tell us what we're doing with the child in front of us to get them being able to be substantial literate citizens. This is, Marcy already spoke to this, the enrichment classroom and the approaching level classroom are have leveled up in their rigor. So instead of moving kids around, which we could if they make substantial move from an intensive to, then we would absolutely meet that need. But right now, just where we're at with the cohort, we really need to be increasing the rigor of what they're getting with the already grouped classroom, because we've taught that procedure, and now we can be manipulating what the child is getting with their instructors in the classroom. Here are 4 different student graphs. These blue dots are the correct words per minute. That's that PRF, meaning that's how many words per minute they read to you in 1 minute. Redundant, sorry. This is an intensive child. So this child was moving at or below the 10th percentile. The vertical line is where we started the walk to read program. You can see the vertical line here. This also indicates they started receiving just their typical title services with me in my full program as well. So this is an intensive child. You can see since enacting the walk to read process, they are making progress at or moving above that 10th percentile line in their learning gains. This is an approaching student, okay, and extremely flatlined, and now have moved here. You're going to see some outliers that'll all come out in the wash, but what I like about it is even with their outlier here, we're still in 3 months hitting above that 10th percentile, whereas here we go 3 months and they're very flat. This is an on-level child. This child is what I call a percentile jumper. This child went from below the 10th percentile and are making gains at the 50th percentile. This child is going to be a literate citizen. Good job, little child. This child is an enrichment class. And we talk a lot about, this is separate from necessarily the title program, but I like to point it out because it goes together with what we are talking about with our PLC model and the RTI process, is what about my children that are at or above, but still need to grow and still need to have an education as well. So it's not about giving them more work. They get a packet, not necessarily. We're looking at where they're going and what they're getting with their instructor in class. And so that's our enrichment class. So this little one was already at the 90th percentile. They're now up and around the 99th percentile. Here would be the vertical of when we enacted the walk to read. So they were making good gains on their own with teacher. And now, even with that boost of having more enriched text of what they're doing from the Wonders curriculum, has again increased their learning. Not because we're giving them more, but because we're giving them hopefully what they need in order to engage. So where are we headed? I will probably champion this group for a lot of reasons. Your babies. I had to come in and be the kindergarten teacher this year. We had there was lots of staffing stuff. So these kindergartners also had me as their kindergarten teacher. So I've had them 1 to 26 as 5-year-olds in masks after the pandemic. The district has been phenomenal in hearing the case of what all students need, but also specific fragile cohorts. I would consider there are other fragile cohorts as well. This is an extremely fragile cohort. Currently, these classrooms will move into 3 classrooms. If we're looking at their numbers, that'll put them about 28-1 next year. So there'll be 28 third graders in their rooms, in the classrooms, with approximately, if we don't make progress with them, with approximately 36% of them at or below the 10th percentile in their literacy needs. So we will educate them and we will do the absolute best of our abilities and we'll continue doing this work. But those are just some considerations, and I'll go into the next slide of what that actually means and what we asked. Sorry, I got a little emotional there. We're going to continue working collaboratively and continue using the tools that you guys have been providing in regards to the training and the time to do this work. And attempting to continue to go through with our schedules and having a team process. I have all intentions of moving this type of service model with them into their 3rd grade year as well. What some things that could be of consideration as you guys are leading the district in their initiatives is potentially increasing your instructional assistant hours in the kindergarten classrooms. That doesn't go for this cohort, but it goes for the foundational skills that we're needing. Our intensive level classroom, we're teaching kindergarten skills to these kiddos and they need it. We can absolutely try to expedite and increase and do multi-grade levels of work because they need to get there, but we are also teaching kindergarten skills currently to these children because that is what they need. We could also increase our instructional assistant hours in the general education staffing allocation. It would be helpful if the Title I staff were able to have subs allocated, and I know that that gets into funny budget stuff because they're not all the same budget. And then also potentially increasing our digital education IA hours to 3rd and 5th grades as well, if there is any type of capacity there. I'd also like to at least bring up the conversation of potentially allocating some FTE for an additional interventionist in the building, but isn't necessarily tied to the Title I budget. And that person could potentially be continuing to do this work, both in the math program or through a math lens as well. I've not even touched on that. And also potentially providing opportunities for 1-to-1. So say the cohort moves, I have a move in of a 3rd grader, the rest of the class is moving at only 1 year behind, I have a third grader move in and they're at a kindergarten level. If we had an additional interventionist, we would have opportunities to have individual service times, because when we're in a flood model, it ties up our entire schedule because we're working in a stations model. And so it's just some differences in opportunities for more outlier type of cases, which come up often. It would also, if you had an additional FTE through the general education for an interventionist, it would provide opportunities for additional coaching, work with teachers that maybe are not as far along in some of this work, and being able to coach through that process as well. To bring up the staffing, the reason I put this here, these vertical lines are people. And if you were to move and say, we move Greta's hours to a full-time, well, yes, that's nice, but what ends up happening is she might be able to see more vertically in a day, but that doesn't give us the bodies we need to run a station in what I call the flood model. So when I talk about that, we get 2 full-time aides, but I take away 2 here. I'm not necessarily getting what I'm attempting to advocate for. And that's where I was saying I can go on and on and on, because it's not just an hour type deal. It's a physical body to ratio. And that gets funny until you actually get kind of deep in and say, oh, that's where they need to be. They need to have an instructor there. It's not just about how many hours on the books that we have. And that's kind of just what I was sharing, is we need the bodies and we need the highly trained staff at the same time in their schedule so that we can run and do floods and stations like that. We're all strapped, but it's also really hard when we have the 375 of instructional time and some of that's used as duty. It just really cuts into those opportunities to have a 40-minute intervention block if they're being pulled for different areas of the building in order to provide those safety needs as well. We talked about that. And this is a summary again, just you can close read it on your own, but this is again my kind of my soapbox and my additional information just as to why it's so important to have the trained bodies at the right times and a master schedule that allows us to do the PLC work. And again, being creative and applying what works and what may not for our buildings. Okay, this is the fun one. I want you guys to read what the kids say. Enough of me talking. Do you read that quote? Oh, this is what the kids say.
Okay, I'll read one. You gotta read one too, though.
Okay.
Okay, I kind of like it because I like doing every kid there. I like doing the things that they have, and I like the new books.
This is what the kids say.
That was an on-level student. Lori, you
I like Wednesdays because then I get to go to my new teachers and do more different stuff. I can read that stuff. And then I have to read that.
Okay, you can read the last one. Go ahead.
You know, I like those, I like those like toy reading games. I get to touch them and play with them and the last syllable changes. One of all the little kinders that come, so.
And I point, I can't help.
And so this, I included this one because this isn't specifically about the second grade team, but when we're looking at walk to read and PLC models, it provides us an opportunity and a lens to look at meeting the needs of our kiddos. Lori is able to, in her schedule, do a walk to read with some kindergartners reading above the 99th percentile. So these are kiddos that are on watch for tag, and she's able to also support that. So when we're thinking in kind of all of our kids, not just my homeroom kids, it really opens up for some powerful instruction and some powerful ownership, both of the student and their learning, and also the ownership of us as a learning community. All right. And that's my ending slide. Okay, so will the data show that this was impactful? I hope so. And if it doesn't, we're gonna keep on keeping on and providing the kids what we find they need to the very best of our abilities and resources. So thank you very much.
I have to give you really high score in your PRF tonight. Getting the lot of words per minute.
Yes, you did really good.
All right, well, then we will now go into 6.2, which is our science curriculum adoption update, and it's our T and L team. Who do we got?
And some representatives from our committee.
Okay.
So we have 3 teachers joining us. Come on up, ladies. Thank you for being here tonight. So we have from elementary, Michelle Nett, and then we have Beth Davis from middle school, and then Jade Jacobs from the high school. I think you already got this in your packet, but I'm gonna pass it down to the client position paper. So we're just gonna share a little bit about our process and then also our recommendations from the team. So just a quick overview of the process. So we have a wide selection of teachers from all grade levels represented from every school. Once the teachers experts are assembled, we review the state standards and drive instruction. They then select the materials that best benefit our community while aligning with state standards. And then the team reviews best teaching practices and then shares those practices with their schools. And that's how our materials are selected. So I'm going to hand it over to our teachers because they are the experts and they are going to share the recommendations. So.
Sure. Hi, like Brooke said, I'm Jade Jacobs. I'm one of the science teachers at the high school. And we worked together. We got sets of biology textbooks, chemistry textbooks, physics textbooks from a couple different resources, looked through all of them for the different teachers who are different experts in those subjects. And the one we landed on as being the most all-encompassing that really had everything we were looking for a high school science curriculum was the Savas, I say it wrong. Savas. I say it wrong every time. The Savas textbooks, we found that they really incorporated all of the NGSS standards that we were looking to bring into the classroom, including having those standards written into the student textbook, not just the teacher's textbook. So it makes it really nice, especially for these higher level learners, to be able to tie why they're learning what they're learning. It helps reduce some of that pushback, like, what am I going to use this? What am I actually going to use this for? So being able to type like, these are what we're trying to do. These are the key skills that we need you to learn in these classes. And having that in their hands, not just on the teacher's end, is super important. So we love that it had that. It was very all-encompassing in a way that was easy to read for our wide variety of different reading levels within the high school. It's very accessible. It comes with different types of workbooks that we can bring into the work that we are already doing in the classroom. A lot of our labs can be supplemented. And then with that, we are suggesting for the high school level to opt for class sets rather than the one-to-one style for textbooks. We think that that'll be more effective for the high school learners of pulling out the textbooks when it's relevant for them to really have that book hands-on, and otherwise have it be more hands-on and experiential learning that is guided by the standards of what the textbook is bringing. So our recommendation is to go with Savas for the textbooks as just class sets, and then a couple of teacher sets, and then we hope to bring forward a proposal to have some additional learning aids as far as like lab materials or things like that, especially moving into the new classrooms next year, to really make that an impactful upgrade for the students, being in those nice new classrooms in the new building, and not just have new curriculum that's better supporting them, but also having some lab aids as well. Just for that. Yes.
Is there a digital component?
I believe there is a digital component. What we are finding, or at least in my classrooms, is the students are getting quite burnt out on digital learning. They don't want to be online anymore, especially the ones who spent most of their middle school years online. They actually want, like, my students are asking me constantly, like, can we have this assignment on paper instead? And like, do it more hands-on and handwritten. So there is a digital component, and we would love to have that access for especially students who like maybe missing days and need to catch up. But would be hoping to lean more on the in-class, like on paper work.
And that's why I asked.
Yeah, exactly.
If you have just in-class sets and the kiddo's home sick, or somebody wants to continue to work.
Yes, and this would be also something that like all of the science teachers at high school keep all of our information for our classes up on Canvas as well. As far as like for my classes are broken down by week in my section, so that they can find exactly what we did, and we would continue doing that, including anything from the textbook.
Thank you, guys.
I have one slide that just kind of highlights the pilot. We're able to do a 1-unit pilot, what's called lab aids. So we decided on lab aids because it was the most comprehensive for both supportive teachers and students with both presentation and lab materials. And these pictures are not from the internet, they're from our classroom. And our classroom is currently outside at times, in working stations, etc. We also chose this to align to specific standards to make the standard alignment plan, assessment and grading and interventions with tier 2 supports easier for teachers. Their assessment system is laid out by unit and lesson by lesson, specifically attaching specific questions to a standard and which rubric to do. So if we have students that are struggling in a particular area, we can then pull them during an RTI intervention time, bring them to our classroom and reteach that standard if they're struggling. We also chose it because it's integrated. So all 3 grade levels will experience all 3 types of science each year, preparing them better for an in-depth look at those things in high school. So that would be earth science, life science, and physical science. And I also wanted to highlight, it is inquiry-based, where students are presented with a question where they discover the answer. We don't tell them the answer, they discover it through process. It is collaborative, they're working together to make a plan. And they are doing, I would say, introductory student design process and reporting. By no means are my 7th graders college ready, but my goal is to get them ready for college. And so we're working on introducing the process and having them practice it regularly so that when they get to high school, they can go deeper and really just get a broader education, a little more in depth, and be ready for college when they get there. And it does have the RTI and AVID in it. So reading strategies are present. We do have a classroom set of books that they let us use. And I was really concerned about having classroom textbooks for 7th graders. The kids love them and so do I. So that was impressive. The reading samples are short. They're relatable, there's stories, there's pictures, and then the questions they have, they're not bored. So the kids have said to me, we're not bored. So, any questions?
We pulled 3 samples and dug into them page by page. And it's not just 3 grade levels, but it's K through 5. So, Christy, are you looking for mine? No. Okay, all right. So the one that we, no, we're good. So the one that we settled on was McGraw-Hill. So we thought all 3 were very similar until we really dug into them. And McGraw-Hill was the clear winner. There was a clear progression of concepts K through 5. So they're very well vertically aligned. What we love too is that when Kristen talked about the strength of our reading program that we're using with Wonders, same publisher. So we're also looking at teachers being familiar with navigating that publisher, and the differentiation in the text allows multiple access points for learners. You've got the same news article, but you've got it so that an English language learner has access to it, as well as a higher lexile for your TAB students. So to have that same article at multiple points of access is really important. They thoroughly address all domains: life science, matter, earth, and space. There was a clear design that was phenomena-based. When we looked at starting the children off with an experience, letting them navigate experience, and then teaching them the language of science and the language of investigating, McGraw-Hill was a clear winner. I noticed that one of the other samples that we looked at, one of the phenomena that they opened up with was have the students Google videos of the Santa Barbara fires. Like, why are we paying for curriculum that tells students to Google videos? So we definitely saw McGraw-Hill as the one that has fantastic tools for teachers, super clear to implement, an online assessment center, hands-on experiences, online simulations. K-1 has read alouds, 2 through 5 has articles, K-5 has leveled readers so the students can access the text. There are real-world topics like global solutions for energy, healthcare, and natural resource management, all the way down to kindergarten. So this was the superstar of curriculums, and we are really, really excited about it. So do you have any questions for us?
Thank you.
All
that work.
Yeah.
All right, well, then we're gonna go on to 6.3, our St. Helens High School Automotive Program, Mr. Jay Wood.
Been a while since I've addressed you people. I guess I stand over here. Where is clicker?
On the table there. And I'll have you after this minute.
Good, last year we got close. Got old somewhere, bud. Got mine right here. Sir. Well, the reason I wanted to come talk to you guys, well, several reasons, and I've addressed it with Scott and Bill several times, talked to Katie about some of this stuff. So it's kind of where we're going with their CTE programs, specifically Joe Bonnie and I. So that's one I'm out there involved with all the time. Our programs are growing like weeds. My program, theoretically, have enough kids signed up next year. There's 150 kids signed up for Auto 1, which you think, oh, it's 5 classes. Well, yeah, not really. That's like 6 classes because you get 30 kids in a classroom. It's insane out there, that kind of thing. There's 40 something kids signed up for Auto 2, which is great. That's two sections. There's no way jamming the one. I've taught 50 kids in stats. It's not the same. And then there's I can't remember the exact number of Auto 3, 4, but technically that should be that's a 2-grade class. There should be 2 of those because it's hands-on working running the Mike's Automotive program. And then this year, I know you've heard this, we started the diesel program. Something I've been wanting to do for a long time. And then it complements what Joe's doing with heavy machinery classes. And so that's the biggest growing field right now. These kids just have so much opportunity to get into that program. And there's 12 or something signed up for that. Now that's going to continue to grow. This year it was stuck in the early morning class. It started at 6:45, 7:30. And I had 8 of them, I think, this year in that class. They're there every day, God bless them, except for a couple of them, they're just little strugglers. But, you know, they have a hard time getting there. But it's growing like crazy. And so we should, by all rights, have probably 12 sections auto next year, just 2 full teachers. Okay. And it's a blessing and a curse at the same time. It's something we need to do. So some of the things I want to chat about tonight are, you know, what can we do to help our programs going forward? So can I do it? Christy doesn't work. Am I too stupid? But there's the board.
That reload you.
It worked for her.
Anyway, so some things I want to chat about tonight, I guess, are some, you know, what can we do as far as funding, look at for a vision for a future, what's going on with our programs, but in the district as well, and then to help make this program sustainable over the long run. Okay. All right, so there we go. Sweet. So why CTE? So one thing that I know that Scott and I have had several conversations about as well. And first of all, I went to college, pretty happy that I went to play football. Oh, and then I got a degree. So it was one of those, it was fine. I didn't plan on going. I'm glad that I did. But there's so many of our kids that have come through our high school and I've taught them all of them. And we have so many kids who, they don't have a vision for their life, where they're going, what they want to do. And they sit around here and they work just, you know, they don't get a good job. They're stuck in this town doing not much for very long. And it's kind of sad to see. And what I see teaching out here is I see kids who struggle so much in the other classrooms come alive out here, okay? And so some of the things that this last week we've been talking about, this one came out last week, this is a big report, 52% are underemployed, that is they get a college degree and then they work at a job that doesn't require it, okay? And it's and after a decade, 45% of them are still doing that, okay? That just came out last week in a big article, there's the report there. There's this big report this week came out about how your blue collar skilled jobs aren't going anywhere. Okay, they're gonna be here forever, whether that's in art or in a trade like, Joe, construction or welding or auto, diesel, whatever, they're gonna be around. Okay, they're not going anywhere anytime soon. And it's kind of a neat deal to be able to tell a kid, you're gonna be training for something that's gonna be around for a while. Now, whether obviously things are gonna upgrade and change, but you're getting them an idea for the future. Good paying jobs. Today, I took some kids with me. We went to Caterpillar to check out their program, the big diesel shop in Hillsborough, which is amazing. Very chance to go tour. You should go tour. Every year I take the kids there to see it. Their eyes just bug out when they see the stuff they're working on there. Okay, but they get in it. They start we always go through the rental shop first and see some of the smaller machinery, and they're like, oh, okay. And then you see the big stuff that's torn apart, big logger machines just completely ripped apart, taking 4 or 5 bays full of their parts and pieces. And they're just overwhelmed, some of them are. And then we walk down the power generation stuff, which is just mind-boggling how many giant generators they have walking around. Then you go over and see where this guy here, all he does is rebuild transmissions, and this guy here, he's just a big specialist on engines and whatever. The kids they're just completely excited about what their futures there. But Caterpillar will put them through basically through college. So it's a 10-month program over the course. They go to school for 10 months over 2 years while working. They hire them right out of high school. When it ends up being done, they get, I think it's somewhere in the neighborhood of $10,000 for the tools right now given to them. They're guaranteed a job. They work through the whole time they're there. They go for a quarter at the school. They go to a quarter at whichever Caterpillar outfit hires them, back and forth until they're hired on full time. The guy today, we were just talking about this today. By the end of the second year, when they fully come on, their second year out of the program, so it's 2 years out of high school, they're making $30 to $35 an hour, so $60,000 to $70,000 a year, which is better than our starting teacher salaries for a bachelor's degree. And again, not bashing that. That's good money right out of high school. Very little bit of money for that, and they pay most of that. They get paid back most of what they paid for their education when it's all said and done through the Caterpillar program. We work with Pape as well. It's a John Deere dealership, same kind of thing, except they just go through like a PCCD, Solar, Lewis and Clark Diesel, whoever. And when they come out, they've been hired the whole time. They still work for Pape the whole time. And then all these companies promote from within. It's just incredible to watch. Today, we also went over and toured Tech Machinery, Tech Equipment, Portland, big Volvo Mac dealership. And the kids, some of those kids, I really didn't think they were kids. I mean, semis don't do much for me. I really have the bigger stuff, but some of these kids are just, oh, yeah, this is great. So out of that bunch today, the kids that went today, I would say of the 12 kids that went, probably 8 will be full-time techs in a few years. And it's pretty amazing to see, probably moving back to our area, staying in our area. They'll be good citizens regardless of where they go, right? And again, very little debt. That's the thing that kills me. I see these kids go off to college. They spend a year in college. They come back. I see them working at a job in town. What are you doing? Wow, I dropped out of college. Oh, okay. Well, I went for a year and now I got a bunch of debt I got paid off. Great, awesome. And I think for those kids, they need to have some other places to go. And so all of our CTE programs, we're always talking about, hey, what are you doing for the future? Let's get a vision for what you should be doing for the future. Whether it's mine or Joe's or whatever it is. We're bringing in we're going to be bringing in some of the apprenticeship programs, but not just some old guy like me coming in and talking about the program. Like, oh, yeah, back in Iowa today. I'm reaching out to kids who I taught who are in their early 20s, come in and talk to the kids. Okay, so I talked to a kid at the boosters auction who I picked up and basically carried him all the way out of high school, getting kicked out of high school because I was tired of him being there when he just graduated already. And now he's a journeyman electrician making $60 an hour right here in town. And mind blowing to me that kid, you'd asked me 10 years ago, no, he's not going to graduate. Okay. And now he's making good money. He supports his family, got a nice wife. It's just a great deal. Another girl who graduated I told her the other day, I said, I called her, I texted her the other day and I said, hey, just FYI, I spoke to your boss. Turns out I got you, you're gonna come and you're gonna speak to my kids. And she's very quiet, so I knew she'd hate that. And she ignored me for a couple of days and she's like, wait, what? He said, yes, I already talked to him, you're coming. And she's not very happy with me. Then finally I talked to her on the phone. And but I said, here's the deal, kid. You're brilliant. You want to go to college, be a mechanical engineer. She did it for a year and she's absolutely could have handled it. Nailed calculus and everything. She says, I don't want to do it anymore. I want to do something different with my hands. And so I want her to come in and talk to the kids. She'll talk to the kids who are the quieter types. She'll connect with them. The kids who might be pushed to go to college. They feel like they're pushed to go to college. Or they want to do something else with their lives. Okay. And the girls, and she just talk to these kids who are at a different level, not some old guy, but somebody that's right there, just got out of their shoes. Okay. I'd like the kids to hear what Christian said, what he'll have to say. Hey, I shouldn't have done this. I should have been paying more attention. I should have worked harder at this. I wish I had done a little bit more of this. Not from an 80-year-old guy telling them what's up, from a 25-year-old kid saying, hey, this would have been a better idea for me. Okay. And kind of show, what they can do with that. Again, I feel like sometimes we're getting this whole, you go to college or you're going to go, whatever. They work together, hand in glove. But the whole point is not to graduate and stop. The point is not to go to college and the point is to be successful. Okay. And so when I look at these kids, I want them to have some success in their life, regardless of which way it happens to go. And we're seeing that happen with these kids going off and being pretty successful. And to me, this is just really, we have some really good things to be looking forward to in the coming years. Programs are growing like crazy, as I say, but here's where some of the issues comes up with. Okay, so, and this is some stuff that I've been talking about. We've heard some of this. How much CTE should we have? And we've talked about this. We've been growing the programs. It's awesome. Okay, is there too much or not enough? I think we have the right. I think what we need to start thinking about is they coexist. All right, we've always said all these two branches. Well, they coexist. That's fine. People need to find their niche, find out where they belong. Okay, and do we need to support? Do we need to have more funds put toward it? I would argue, yeah, we need to put more funds toward it to support what we have going on. Okay. I should actually look at your notes on this somewhere. Sometimes I get going on with the values. No, we're good there. And so we're going to keep going and growing the program out. We need to know how we're going to support that stuff. Okay. Now, as far as the future of the programs go, as I said, our numbers are up every year. Right now, I have 8 auto classes this year because I'm teaching, extra classes. I'm also teaching calculus this year, so 9 classes, which is fine. Okay, I have no problem doing that. But we need to start looking at, being sustainable, right? So at some point, I guess I heard through the grapevine we're not supersizing anymore. Okay, so what are you going to do about that, right? So at that point now, it puts me down to 6 classes for next year. So you have to get rid of half of those kids that signed up, for instance, right? So some things you need to think about that are, okay, well, where are those kids going to go? Number one, are we going to we can't just bring someone in to teach a period of one of these classes, right? The whole point of these classes are the people that are teaching these classes should be skilled at what they're doing. They should have some industry credentials. They should know what they are. Hopefully from industry, it'd be nice if they were from industry, you can bring them in, okay? Some of the problems with that, of course, are hiring somebody in, they're not going to come in and take a giant pay cut. Okay, I was talking to my buddy Josh. He's been in volunteering. He's a big diesel guy. He went through the CAP program. He's in his 40s, early 40s. So 20 years ago, I suppose. And he works for Foss Maritime. That's all he does. He works on big diesels. He has a little side hustle he does. But he comes in and volunteers from time to time whenever he can. And I said, dude, you're great. They should really have to consider doing this. He's like, I cannot cut my pay in half. And I'm like, yeah, I know. And so I was doing some talking to a couple of guys from North Clackamas School District last week, and they actually, they may be on my next slide after that one. Yeah, that's on our next slide. But I have a link for that. But I have a link to their pay scale. We'll look at that in a few minutes. So people that come in from industry are able to start a little bit higher up. We can actually get them in. So we could actually bring someone in and actually think about growing the program. Scott and I were talking a while back. Said, well, how long are you going to be here, Jay? Well, here's the thing. It's not about me. Okay? It's not about me. It's not about my program. It's about helping the kids out, right? So if we establish something, grow it out. It'd be nice to let someone come in and take over the program, all of our programs, right? And it'd be nice to bring someone in for the next, umpteen years, whatever. I don't think I'm going anywhere anytime soon. And we work together, and then they build the program out, okay? So that's some things to be thinking about, how we can be reaching out for some of that. As far as that goes. So could we do 12 auto classes next year? It'd be kind of tight, 'cause we know we didn't get anything much in bond the last couple times through. So it'd be kind of tight. We do have some spaces we can work around. But some of the things we have to obviously get creative with some of this stuff. And I'm willing to work with that. I'm willing to do some of that. I think, there's some definite growth patterns here I'm willing to work with. But again, Scott and I have talked quite a bit. I have a couple of ideas I'd like to run past the board tonight as far as some of our funding though. Okay. So again, personnel on the next slide, where's the main thing? As far as personnel goes, when Mike retired, I happened to be here. That's probably not gonna happen again. You're not just gonna find somebody, okay, it's just, people don't just fall out of a tree and say, oh, here we are. It doesn't work that way. You need to start recruiting people. Okay, again, Josh, I guess he kind of fell out of the tree. He just called me up one day, introduced himself, who he was. We got to be friends. He kind of started coming in and helping. I can see him coming in, but it would have to be different the way we do some of these things. Scott and I were talking here a couple weeks ago too about how maybe CTE funding, maybe we should start coming in from, like, this is a CTE specified FTE from the district. This is what you're gonna use it for, okay? And he said rightly so, hey, Katie gets the FTE, she gets to decide. I'm not gonna make, cut an English teacher, we need an auto teacher, that's stupid, obviously. So maybe that needs to be more of a line item from the budgetary committee that says, hey, these are CTE, this is how we're gonna roll with that. Maybe something like that, some kind of idea like that. Like I said, Josh, I know my buddy Josh, he would consider it if you could get him some more money. The North Clackamas, is that applicable? Maybe not. Oh, yeah, it is.
You're getting good.
Look,
Yeah,
here you
the
go.
3 times it went off and on.
Here, can you get me to page 67, Christie? You type in 67, or that'll work too. Anyway, our page 67, it talks about how they bring people in for their CTE. So, 67, you overshot it.
Okay.
There we go. Somewhere. Oh, you overshot it again.
Talking about the page of the PDF or the page number.
Oh, shoot. Oh, I thought it was page of the PDF. That's what I thought I was looking at.
Oh, is that what you?
Yes, there we go. I'm sorry. Nice. I didn't look at the page on the pictures. There we go. Beautiful. Yes, here you go. So for the career and technical education, okay, how they bring them in. So college hours have always been used that way. So then basically to work out, bringing in based on the number of years of experience they have, journeyman level and beyond, so we could get them up to a pay that would make sense. I'm not going to speak for Josh because I'm talking about specifically what number he would cut loose with, but if you could bring him in, let's say at an 80 versus 85, or I don't know, whatever, and then he could make his side hustle grow bigger on the side, whatever, maybe that would make it work for him. Because he does enjoy working with the kids, he enjoys doing all that, but he's not done. He's got a nice place he wants to keep going and building on, and he's not going to give up all that money to come do this. And you're not going to find a ton of that. So we need to start thinking about how we can be creative as far as getting people in off the streets to join us, okay? It's not like the old days where, hey, you kind of good at the car, you can kind of make it work. It's just they're a little more, they need a lot more nowadays to pull this off. Okay? Where's my, here's my thing. I won't go back. Oh, maybe. There we go. Cool. Awesome. One thing I did want to just mention just briefly was the supersize thing. I hear you guys going away from that. I think that's kind of short-sighted in a lot of ways. I didn't volunteer to teach extra classes here to make extra money. That wasn't the reason I did it. I did it because I want to grow the program. I don't want to turn kids away. I want my program to grow. Okay. When Katie told me last year, hey, you're going to have 6 classes. And I go, oh, what about my diesel class? Well, you have to cut something else. Well, you cut an auto 1, you kill your program. Okay, that's the feeders, right? You cut an auto 2, you cut the top class. Okay, you cut. Where are you going to cut? Okay, I don't know which kid you want to get rid of. Okay, so I look at that. I was able to get 7 for the diesel class, and then the second semester we added a class, and then I picked up calculus to help out with that. I heard the other day something about you guys want to go to an 8th versus a 6th. I only say this as a math guy. 1/8 of my salary or 1/8 of my period, okay. But then if I get 3 periods and then I get a prep period, my prep period should be 1/3. That should be kind of goes with the other class. That makes sense? So I use it to prep for the other class. Just as a math guy, a little geeking out here, 1/3 of an 8th is a 24th. And 1/8 is 324, so that's 424, so that's 1/6 of my pay still, okay? I don't think you're like getting jobbed here at all, as far as you teaching a little extra class wise, but whatever the case may be, supersizing, I think, is the way to go to some degree until we can afford to hire somebody full-time on, all right, you know, at a higher level. Because otherwise, where are you gonna get? Where are you gonna have somebody come over? I'll have Carl Sumption come over to teach class. And no offense to Carl, I love him, but as far as Carl, what are you gonna do? I mean, we need someone who knows what they're doing. And if you brought somebody in for a period or two, okay, then there's the whole, okay, now I get another prep, I get to teach them how to do what we're doing and where we're at, okay? Which is a lot more work anyways. I really just do it all myself, if that's going down to it that way, okay? Just some ideas about that. Again, not trying to teach you guys how to tell you how to do your job or not, but I just think that's the easy way to get around something until we can afford to hire someone full-time, okay? As far as funding goes, Joe mentioned earlier, we get about $2,500 a year for our programs to run them. Without donations for him and Bonnie, they couldn't handle their jobs. They couldn't do their jobs at all, metal-wise, wood-wise, whatnot. As far as I go, I get cars donated. That's true. My Mike's Automotive program really carries the program, okay? So just today, for instance, I bought a couple of new tools. It came out of the Mike's budget because that's where it has to be done. There's not enough money in our other thing to get the job done, so we have to supplement and we have to supplement that. So as Joe said, it'd be cool if there was a little bit more money, and that came from a line item. We all have machines, as he mentioned, that have gone on the fritz. Unfortunately, I try to fix mine, and because I feel like I probably can fix it, I probably should fix it. But in reality, it should be calling in a guy that is trained to do all that stuff. I have a tire machine, it's a little finicky right now. I would never do that for a lift or something important with a car and a kid, but as far as like a tire machine or something that's just kind of annoying, I'd like to get these things fixed. Some of that, it's just not fun to do all that, okay? Grants, I tried to write one last year. Well, I did write one last year, got shot down. That was a lot of time. And I decided that I just don't have time for that anymore, okay? My job is to pay, my job is to teach, okay? If grants is something that the district would like to look into, then I think the district should look at some getting a grant writer, and that's what they should be doing, okay? And that's fine, and I'll work with them and whatever needs to be done. And Joe's written some, and good for him. It's a lot more work than I need to do. I sign on to teach kids, and that's what I'm going to do. And I'll do some other things too, but that's just not one of them. I don't mind working and finding out and networking with people, but I'm not going and beating on doors anymore for like, hey, can you do this, that, and the other thing? It's not my job, okay? I've spoken to a lot of people in the community, Casey Garrett, the other guys in the commissions, Brian Fox, and the other guys. I've had some talks with some of them, other guys that own their own businesses in town. They're like, oh, this is a great idea. Oh, some of the CTE teachers from Scappoose the other day, we had some ideas talking back and forth. But in the end of the day, I don't write the checks for it. I know I can't okay it. So we'll have a conversation, but we'll talk about these things. So there's some things that are out there that'd be kind of cool to try. But I'm not the guy that writes those checks for things. So, you know, long range planning wise, and I've talked to Scott and Katie pretty much ad nauseum about these things, but like working with other schools. For instance, Scappoose has several programs that we don't have. We have a lot that they don't have. You know, can we work together back and forth? I don't know. Can we become kind of a magnet school? I don't know. Could we take the CT department and break it off as a separate high school like Saban Schellenberger for North Clackamas does? I don't know. These are things that I think will all be potential solutions to our issues. Maybe more of a headache for the business gal, but be potential solutions for our issues is funding wise, maybe. But something's got to change a little bit because the way we're doing it right now is not really sustainable, I don't think, for in the long run, unless something starts changing. Oops, back up there. I thought there's one thing I want to say on that. Those are some of the things I guess that come to mind. Now, as far as those go, yeah. As far as that goes, I've seen this as far as the shared programs between schools. We've done that before. We've had kids come over and take calculus with me back in the day from Scappoose. Okay, I don't see any reason why we couldn't do that with our CTE programs. Okay, as far as a magnet school, I mean, obviously there's schools that do that for other things where hey, everybody in the district or whatever comes to a certain place, whether that is within our high school or whether you're in a separate one. I don't care. That's above my pay grade. I just want something that's sustainable. So here, when I leave. Right, because again, it's not about me. When I leave, the program keeps running. That's what it's all about. When Mike left, the program kept going. That's what it's all about. And when I leave, and 3 years after I'm gone, they'll remember who I am, and that's fine. And I don't care. I find a lot of solace in that. When you're done, you're bye, see you. but it's still going, and that's good. So those are some things I'd like to talk about, that you guys start thinking about. I'm going to talk to you, see what's up, if I can provide any, help at all. I've spoken with Levi and a couple of the other people on the budget committee about a few of these things. Just some things that I think something needs to give a little bit as far as that goes. I would say too, when it comes to cutting kids from the Auto 3-4 program, especially in the Auto 2 level, at that point, those kids have made it. But Auto 1 is the welcome to, I'm glad you're here. Here's this is a wrench. Let's have some fun. McKenna was in my class. Great kid. Awesome. Then she dumped me, but whatever. But it's been a good time to have all these kids around. But once you get to Auto 2 and Auto 3-4, these are the kids who are trying to be serious about what's going on. Okay. So I'm gonna have to sit down and have a conversation. What are your plans for life? What are your plans? Room, I just like it here because it's fun, or I just like, whoever's here. Well, sorry, I gotta get the kids who want to go on. So bye, beat it. And from a standpoint of, you want to think about it, you're gonna lose a lot of girls in that process too. Okay, because there's by and large kids that are going on out of the programs, by and large, well, most of our kids are male anyway, about 75% male in my program. You're gonna start losing some of those kids, and it's sad because I was talking to one of them today. God bless her. I'm getting excited to have her in Auto 3-4 next year. There's no way in heck she's gonna be a technician. She's fun. She's a good kid. She likes to work hard. She pays attention. She's the one that always remembers everything I ever said. Those are the things I wish she wouldn't remember. She always does everything right, but she has no real interest in ever working on it other than working on her own car. All right. But if I had to cut somebody, she'd have to go probably because there's gonna be somebody who actually wants to do this as a career. Okay. And so when we start thinking about these things, that's the things you have to consider as well. And that bothers me because today she was just laughing and we were goofing around after school about that and miss on it. One good last news, Joe shared his kids. One of my kids, we had 2 kids place last week, 3rd and 5th in state schools. I think I'm done talking. Questions, comments? What? You okay?
I do have some comments.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, but I think I have some good news for you because I know sometimes it feels like things are falling on deaf ears. That's not the case. And I will share a little bit of my background. I was a wood shop teacher when I taught social studies, but I taught wood shop. I graduated from St. Helens High School. I took wood shop every year. They had 2 years of a remodeling class. It was close to what Joe does, but I was on the modeling team. I competed in the VICA program. I don't know if you remember VICA. I wasn't as good as Joe's kids. I did get 6th place, but not first. So I wish you would have been my team. So. Man.
I can attest to that.
Yeah. All right. So I believe around CT teacher. And first of all, the association, our teachers union, we have a great relationship with them. They were concerned with plan time, and supersizing sucks that plan time out. We're concerned about burning out teachers. So part of the conversation was how do we get around that? So I know Katie's just posted a fine arts and arts CTE type teacher. We've allocated for another CTE teacher, so that to alleviate the supersized piece. And I guess my thinking is, it takes time to train people up. We got to get them in at some point. We did a lot of work with our association during negotiations. When we finally get through and get it approved, we've got a great salary schedule for our staff. Every one of our teachers coming into the district make 60,000 or more. That's a great thing. And top end will be 102,000.
Yeah, I'm not playing.
So there's a way to get to what you're saying about flatness. Again, I think more good news.
Well, I think 60 is still not enough for your starting salary for a guy coming out of the industry.
Sure, but there's other things that come with that, right? We also in the contract have ways to add additional salary. Not solving anything, it's not perfect, but I'm just trying to share. You shared a lot of concerns, and I want to share some of the good news that we're really trying to move things forward, right? Fair enough.
So when you approved the CT, that was from the district level? That one, you don't.
Yeah. Well, part of it was because we said, not gonna supersize, so we have to address it, right? And then the last piece, I know you guys have an advisory board. I don't get minutes from that advisory board. I would love to get feedback on a regular basis. So then I can help understand what's going on. Because I feel like as a group, you guys have great ideas and great plans, and there's a gap missing for us as a team to work together. And what I really appreciate you saying is there needs to be a balance and one opportunities for kids. That's what I heard you say. And that not all kids should be going to college, not all kids should be going into the trades. And we just want to make sure they all have opportunities, right? And I value that. So I want to thank you for that, but I also just want to share the good things that we are doing.
And I want you to know, my grandfather's 94 years old, and he was an instructor, like a nationally recognized instructor for masonry and tile and brick and fireplaces, like anything. He still has students contacting me, asking me how he's doing. So you will be remembered.
And you don't get to go hide either. Thank you, Jay. All right, do I have a Brooke here tonight?
We do not.
No, that's right.
right.
So we don't have a Brooke at all. We'll just skip that St. Helens High School report then. Nobody to take the place. All right. So now we're gonna go into 6.5, so we can make your legs move again and get the circulation back. It's the school reports. Who's going first? We start with Danny because she looks like she's gonna fall asleep.
I'll just go first. I feel like you want to go first.
We could do the true minute or less.
Okay, 1 minute or less. That'll make you feel better. Okay,
1 minute or less.
Yep.
there you go.
All right.
Be around.
So, for early learning, I'm Danny Borland. You all know that. I got to go to a early learning leaders conference that is the only one in the United States that is specifically just for directors and owners of early learning. And I got to take one of our principals, Allison, with us because I wanted her to understand that early learning is different than elementary. And so it was a really great experience of learning about the new, like the different ways to manage our staff and the ways to delegate tasks and things like that, that I'm new to doing this for the last 2 years. And so it was really eye-opening and great to have a conference that was just for what I'm doing. I think one of the things that we've been working on is filling our spots for next year, and our private pay spots for infant, toddler, and both preschools are officially full. And so we are full in all of our programs, and then our preschool promise that the state assigns those kids to me. So I am done with enrollments and we're gaining wait lists in all of our programs. Lastly, we are prepping for our early learning fairy tale night for our parents, and so we are preparing dragons, pirates, and unicorns galore for our special event. And the kindergarten kids sadly see all of these materials stacking up in my office and are very jealous. Our event that they want to buy the gold coins for. So that's what's going on in early learning.
Thanks, Danny. Who's next?
Okay.
Go ahead, guys, fight over it. Run, ladies, run. No,
We'll give you 90 seconds.
Group, so we get.
oh, well, you can have 3 whole minutes.
Five
Go ahead.
We had a really amazing career day last Wednesday at our school where we had 6 different adults from different industries. Somehow, most of them parents came, we did it conference style, so the kids got to hear what their options were, put in their top choices, and then they got to wear a little badge that had their location for their 3 that they were going to go to. Joe Bear, district employee, was one of the stations and did an amazing job. He had hammering. He had made like a frame for the kids to hammer on. He was so developmentally appropriate. He tied the hammers to the frame so they weren't going to walk off with the hammers. It was very safe and awesome. And we have interior decorators, egg production specialist. Cool. Yeah. So lots of cool opportunities for our kids and our kids group.
A production specialist, is that a chicken?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's one of our staff, she stepped in when somebody wasn't able to make it and we needed a title for her, so yeah. She got very into chickens just recently and
Yeah.
it was one of the best attended sessions. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we put chickens in prison.
You know what though? Allison has one of those too. I saw 2 18-packs go in.
Apologize.
Chicken bags.
Okay, is that everything you wanted to? Or we're just doing one each and then go back? Okay, all right. So this quarter, we are working at Lewis and Clark on Kindness Awards. And so this last week, we went through our first round and it was so exciting to see over 40 kids receive kindness awards with certificates. We went to classrooms and presented those. And so we're just looking for ways that kids are being kind to one another. They're wanting to nominate each other. And it's been really exciting because they get excited about it and we can let parents know what's happening. We've taken pictures, if you saw our newsletter, full of really smiling faces of kids earning those kindness awards and really focusing on that. So we're looking forward to continuing that. Every Friday, those are presented and it's probably the best part. By far.
That's so cute. It's really fun to be up here with my friends.
McBride, Allison, good to see everybody. We've had a very busy, spirited last month or so since I've last been here. And I think we're kind of in the throes of just planning for all the fun events that are going to be coming up in May, which there are quite a few. I think every week we've got something happening on one night. Next week is family welcome night for kindergarten, which I'm very excited about. Something we've been working on though with students, we are previewing our forecasting list for our middle school partners for kiddos that have forecasted for AVID to make sure that we've got the right students that have predicted, that have selected that as their course. And then tomorrow I'm meeting with the whole group of fifth graders and then some more maybe curious minds to present to them their AVID applications and then kind of help walk them through what that process is going to be. Kind of like a rah-rah, this is what AVID is all about. And then the next thing I'm going to be doing with our 3rd and 4th grade classrooms is working to do an AVID ambassadors, kind of McBride ambassador program to do some leadership development with my 3rd, rising 4th and rising 5th grade students for next year. So again, kind of this application leadership type focus for this month. And then, yeah, that's questions, thoughts? Are we?
Anything else?
Any more?
She looks like she really wants to say something.
Share more.
We have so many things, but
Okay,
okay,
sure.
sure.
We can be done. I don't know. What do
Give
you
us
want?
the one you're thinking of.
Okay, well, I need to go. Super excited. We had a really fantastic PD today focused on AVID as well. And so the staff locked in our organizational strategies that are our agreements across the building. So we've got those like locked in and in place, selected our next Wicker strategy that will be our focus for next year, which is collaboration, which I believe is also Parks focus, and selected one of the 5 Ds that would support that to be a focus for the coming year, and that was culture in the classroom that tied in really nicely with the collaboration. So it feels like things, momentum moving all in the same direction.
And I would only like to add one thing. Yes, we had an awesome PD today around AVID. I think that was in all 3 buildings and we were excited about it earlier. So just that great work is going on and the really helping our 5th graders to move to 6th grade. But I do want to add one other thing. As our ladies were sharing about RTI and our practice, I want to share with you a little bit about what quickly is happening in 1st grade. They are doing that 5 days a week. Their model is slightly different, but they are seeing tremendous gains. And as you heard, just this last 12 weeks of what's happened with our 2nd graders is amazing. And we have a couple other staff members that we found ways to kind of move some things around. And so they're going to be moving to 2 days a week. So we're excited for that. And then for the plans that our 3rd grade teachers already have to start taking that on. So Kristen gave you all the data, but there's this great excitement of seeing that literacy move and the dial moving on that in a way that it hasn't before. All right, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Come on up here, Mr. Chris. Hi.
Good evening, board. Chris William, principal, middle school. I want to share with you a couple of highlights for quarter 4. And we're going to start out with our social emotional learning center, which is our self-contained program for students with IEPs for emotional or social needs. And I just want to say they're focusing on building those students' capacity to participate in general education for the full day. That's really what they're trying to do. Most of our students in there participate on some level in general education classes throughout the day. But we have a dynamic duo that we've recently put together. Taylor Grove, an instructional assistant, and Jillian Cedarberg, the teacher. Prior to those two coming together, we were averaging about 2 incidents a day. Incidents can be anything from a minor disruption to an emergency in that classroom. But we were averaging about 2 a day, about 6 a week, and sometimes more. Since putting them together, we have 10 straight days of no incidents in that self-contained classroom. It's pretty phenomenal. And the things that they have done to change that attitude and that behavior in there really centers around the community building that they're doing in there during our focus time. If I were to observe in there during focus time months prior, it would be a lot of social conflict, a lot of disruption, a lot of chaos. They've implemented this amazing idea of using art to educate the students and to engage them. And they're now, when I walk in, it was for the first time ever last week, I walked in and I saw every single student, all 9 of them in that classroom, focused on creating art. And the art is designed to teach themselves about each other, as well as display the routines for the classroom, and as well as to kind of express the strategies that they use to cope with their emotional and social issues. So it's them putting their kind of themselves into the functioning of the classroom and displaying it through art. It's pretty incredible. So I'm so proud of that team. I wanted to highlight them. I also want to highlight our track program. Right now, we started with 100 students. We're down to 89 due to some loss of students from academic eligibility as well as injury. So we're at 89 competitors. They're going to compete tomorrow at the high school for our home track meet. But I want to focus on this 4x100 relay team in the 8th grade boys that we have. It's incredible. They're among the fastest in the state. They've already posted on athletic.net at all their meets. They're among the top 3 times in the state each time they compete. And they're on the verge of breaking the state record for middle school boys for the 4x100 relay. If they can get clean handoffs and they all run their best race, we think we can blow away the middle school state record. So have high hopes for them. And then lastly, what we're really working on the administrative level and in the student services and with our guiding co is our master schedule for next year. And to let everybody give a little highlight, we're looking at running 2 separate schedules, one for 8th grade and one for 6th and 7th grade. Opening up the 8th grade schedule to a 7-period day and bringing back language arts at the 8th grade level instead of humanities. So breaking up humanities at the 8th grade level to focus more on those higher level reading and writing skills that are necessary to transition to high school. So those are the highlights for today.
Do you know what breaking ankles is?
Yes, I do.
I had no idea, but
Okay.
I heard that you broke a whole bunch of ankles
Oh, really? In basketball or?
on the track.
Oh, on the track. Oh, not me.
You weren't. They said Mr. Williams.
Oh, really?
racing.
Oh, I know what they're talking about.
Okay.
No, I did not race. I went out and played football with them. And they all took turns, the boys lining up against me to play defense against me.
You were really cool on breaking ankles.
Yeah, I broke some. I was 100%. I caught every pass and yes, got over everything.
Yeah, sure.
It's like juking them so they fall over. Or they leave it up. Yes, there you go.
Yeah, that's our safety officer.
Yeah, I know. So no true broken. Yeah, it was a good time. Thank you.
It's you.
Thanks, Chris.
Good evening, Katie Wagner, principal of St. Helens High School. And since Brooke is not here to give a little ASB report, I'll just fill you in on a little bit of the activities happening at St. Helens High School in addition to what's happening
school-wide. So currently in athletics, our baseball team and our softball team are ranked second in league. So we're playing incredibly well. We're really excited for what the last part of the season is going to look like. Also, girls flag football, which is a new sport, is really strong, and we won our first game, and they will continue to play. We've got some incredible athletes on that team.
Overtime.
In overtime, yes, yes. Choir also qualified for the state competition, which is on Friday, May 3rd. So next weekend, and then band will be competing at the state competition on May 9th coming up. Then 2 days later, we have prom at Castaway on May 11th. So lots of school-wide activities happening. Also, just a couple weekends ago, the band traveled to Los Angeles to perform and compete in Music in the Parks. So they went on their tour and they took first place in their division, and they won overall best concert band out of all of the performing groups that were there. So brought home some new big trophies that will go up in our new band room. So we're very excited about that. A couple other things that are also very heartwarming is that our junior class decided to put on a fundraiser at the high school, which was their first art show fundraiser. So they gathered student artists to bring in their own work where they could sell their own personal art, but then they also had a lot of other donations and they had silent auctions. And it was a really great turnout, and the junior class raised over $600 for their group. So really honoring the artists in our own school and giving them an opportunity to kind of sell their wares as well. We also had National Honor Society hosted a bingo night, and all of those proceeds were doubled by Costco and were also donated to the Dornbecker Children's Hospital. So doing a lot of fundraising. We also just held our blood drive just the other day, which was wildly successful and had a lot of community members come out in addition to our staff and our students. I also was going to mention our Skills USA competitors, so 3rd place and 5th place in automotive, and then carpentry 1st, 2nd, 4th, and 6th. So we had some pretty great showings at Skills USA. One big celebration is when we look at our forecasting for what classes students want to take for this next year. We're in the phase called sectioning, where we look at all of the classes that students were requesting, do our best to offer that many sections that all of those students get to be in their first choice classes. And then we match that up with our FTE. So our master schedule committee is looking at all of that data now, and then they'll start building the master schedule in a couple weeks. But a big celebration is that we totaled up our students who forecasted for AP and dual credit and honors courses. And the total enrollment is up over 150 enrollments compared to last year. So we've had a huge number of students who are challenging themselves and taking those college preparation classes or those college level classes at the high school level. So it's a great celebration, including offering a new AP Human Geography class at the 9th grade level. So in the past, all 9th graders would go into a global studies class as part of the 9th grade academy. We decided to offer an AP Human Geography at the 9th grade level, similar to we offer language arts honors at the 9th grade level. We had over 40 students that forecasted for that 9th grade AP Human Geography class. So really excited about that. And then finally, our guiding coalition has all gone through the RTI training, either last year or this year. And as part of that training, we look at all of the different steps for tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3, all these different action steps that are required to have a really robust RTI outwork system. And we map out, okay, which of these activities are currently in place, what are we working on, what are not in place at all. And so just recently, Guiding Coalition mapped out the 3 different times that we've gone to the conferences, so different groups of people. We compared all of the black, the blue, and the red to see what our progress has been. And then we mapped out where we are today. And where we are today is every single action step in tier 1 is either in place or we're sort of doing it and it needs some refinement, but none of them are in the red. So we have really turned the dial on our tier 1 practices through that RTI lens.
And that means that that will help guide our work next year as we continue to tweak that, but also dig a little bit more into our tier 2 supports, which we've also had some really great movement on, but we can dedicate a little bit more time into that. So really exciting work moving forward and lots of things coming up at the high school in the next couple weeks. So, yeah.
Martin Heeman, Virtual Academy. So I recently asked the teachers what they thought were some highlights for the year. And the first thing that they all said was that they really enjoyed having and felt supported by having an administrator that was there every day to help them. And they liked the improved communication and procedures that we've been implementing. Teachers have also appreciated and supportive of offering first and second semester courses year round. So that helps the students regain some of that missed learning that they've had. Teachers have also said that it's been fantastic to witness both elementary and middle school students become more active in their studies, over in classes and enrichment activities. And we are going to be working on solidifying policy and procedures to better align our practices. And then we're also going to be creating a student family handbook to increase parent awareness, communication, transparency, and student expectations. Mr. Stockwell said that he wants everybody to have one of those. It's like, oh, that's one of our things. So that's what we've got going on at the Virtual Academy. I do want to give a shout out to Jay, who's not here anymore, and Joe. If it wasn't for programs like that, I wouldn't have known that the 2 screws I pulled out of my motorcycle tires that I took off my motorcycle last night were triangles. Thank you for that. But I knew how to take the tires off because of programs like Jay's.
So we have our interim principal, Michelle Tullen. Just want to put a face to the name. Michelle, did you have anything you want to share?
I started on April 1st and I'm enjoying getting to, yes.
Yes, we
And
talked about
I'm
that.
enjoying getting to know the kids and the staff and just getting familiar with the school. So thank you. And I'll report back later.
All right, so do you want to do the winners by 2 first?
Sure.
Which one do you want to do first?
Well, you know, that was.
Okay, all right, so we're doing a little skipping job here. We're gonna go to the end and we're gonna go to 6.7.1 with the superintendent report, which is our teacher appreciation. And that's.
Yeah, and I think it's very appropriate after reports by Ms. Vespin showing the amazing work that's going on at the elementary school at Lewis and Clark, but I know what's going on at the other schools as well. Hearing from our science teachers, you know, the investment that this board has made in purchasing curriculum over the last couple of years is making a huge difference. Going years without buying up-to-date material really put in the strain on our system. So more updated resources are fantastic. Listening to, you know, Mr. Mock share about construction class, wood shop, and Jay's. So I think this is really appropriate. We've got great teachers. And I will put on my glasses like Jay.
Okay.
All right, this is Licensed Employee Appreciation Teacher Week Declaration. We'll go through the whereas. Whereas teachers mold future citizens through guidance and education. And whereas teachers encounter students of widely differing backgrounds. And whereas our country's future depends upon providing quality education for all students. And whereas teachers spend countless hours preparing lessons, evaluating progress, counseling and coaching students, and performing community service. And whereas our community recognizes and supports its teachers in educating the children of this community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the St. Helens School Board of Directors proclaims May 6th through the 10th, 2024 to be Licensed Employee Appreciation Week, and be it further resolved that the St. Helens School Board of Directors strongly encourages all members of our community to join with it in personally expressing appreciation to our teachers for their dedication and devotion to their work. This 24th day of April 2024. Ms. Mendoza has lots of plans. But it's a small thing, but we have staff. And that leads me to the next
6.7.2.
6.7.2, we have amazing leaders in this district. And so this is a rare opportunity. I'm not sure if we've ever had this in the St. Helens School District.
Oh, get on the other side.
Go ahead, get on the other side.
Yes, you do.
A lot of it is getting the right people on the bus. And the first thing is getting the right staff. And so we've got the right staff at the school. And then getting the right leader to lead them. And you know, this award isn't something that is just handed out. There's one middle school principal of the year in the state, and we're fortunate to have that person in our school district. You know, all of us have gone through the pandemic. This principal did a great job leading it, his staff through that collaboratively, shifting from a 7th, 8th grade middle school to a 6th, 7th, 8th grade middle school is no small feat. And as a matter of fact, we tried that in this district 10, 15, well, probably more 20, 25.
25.
A long time ago and struggled. And this time we did it with success. And that's because of quality leadership and quality staff. And that is working together is what's helped Mr. William be named principal. Now with that comes a speak at every COSA, every event. You don't have to speak. It's been a lot of opportunities to speak.
I'm gonna keep it really simple. The opportunity to work in the St. Helens School District is what's brought this opportunity on and this honor on. I spent several years at the high school as an assistant principal and learned a lot. And then I took the opportunity to lead the middle school. And like Mr. Stockwell said, we got to go through a lot of change and had really amazing people on board with me to help me get through all of that change. And now we are a pretty healthy, high functioning school with a lot of really good systems for kids. And I give all that credit to the staff. Thank you to everybody who works at the middle school, the school board, for the opportunity to lead under those circumstances. I'm blessed to have this on. Thank you.
No, let me go back now. Right, okay. So now we're gonna go back to 6.6. It's our St. Helens School District 502 business report. And we turn it over to Jessica.
Sure, just have 2 items, both of which would request actions from the board. The first is a requirement from ODE. So when we passed our bond last May, we were also awarded the awesome matching grant. And this is a new requirement from the cycle that we went through last time. And that's just that the board approved the district accepting the grant agreement. So this resolution was provided in the board packet. So just requesting board approval for that. The second item would be an action from the board acting in its capacity as the local contract review board. Third time, we've used the permissive cooperative agreement made possible by the Intermountain ESD to procure artificial turf installation services, this time being for softball and baseball fields at the high school, made possible by that awesome grant matching program. So the total price is on page 3, I believe, but this is just the board's permission to use that agreement. And what that means, for people not familiar with permissive cooperative agreements, is that the Intermountain ESD, on behalf of all public school districts in Oregon, went through a national consortium to vet proposals to procure goods and services. So we're entering into a fixed price agreement to like leverage consortium buying to get a good price on artificial turf installations. So, yeah. The second kind of first thing.
All right. Then let's see here, we're gonna go back over to 7.0, the visitors to address the board, and this is the time for public comment on agenda items. Do we have anybody? None, all right. So now we will turn over to 8.0 action items. 8.1 is to approve the science curriculum adoption.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept action item 8.1. Any comments or questions? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. 8.2 is the resolution 2023-24, number 12, is authorizing the acceptance and execution of the Oregon School Capital Improvement Matching Program Grant Agreement.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept action item 8.2. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. 8.3, approve permissive cooperative procurement for St. Helens High School field turf.
I'll move.
It's been moved and seconded to accept action item 8.3. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. And 8.4 is our teacher appreciation declaration.
So moved.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded in third and fourth and fifth. Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 You just got really speedy.
I did.
We're all done.
9.0 upcoming meeting input is May 8th, 2024 board work session. Put that on your calendar. No, just kidding. 6:30 PM.
You know, one thing.
Go ahead.
I believe that, before the end of May, unless things change, there'll be construction started on. But we also have state playoffs that we're planning on.
Okay. All right. All right. Is that everything? Everybody good?
Mhm.
Adjourned. You need to go home and go to bed now. Okay. Thank you all for coming.
Joe, don't forget your 2x4s.
It's a board meeting.